Hello, gentlemen, and good afternoon. Before we get started, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel, hit the notification button so you can stay updated on the next release. If you have a topic you wish for me to discuss, or you have a song from my Anthems of MGTOW series, go ahead and post them below inside the comment section or email them to me. If you can, go ahead and donate to my Patreon. Links will be below inside the description. So, without further delay, let's get started. Now, I've been watching this TV show lately called Yellowstone, and spoilers ahead for anyone who is not up to date on it. It's basically a show where Kevin Costner plays as an older man who, alongside his children, own the largest ranch in the United States, called the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch in Montana. And he's trying to fight tooth and nail to stop a bunch of politicians and land developers and billionaires from acquiring his land and throwing him out of it. He's doing this alongside his children because he's up against some pretty powerful odds. It's basically like watching the modern-day cowboy version of The Godfather. Really good show. But one of the characters that I think is a great focal point to discuss what we've been talking about is his first and only daughter, Beth Dutton. And Beth Dutton, if you watch the show, really represents a lot of the problems that modern women deal with. And by modern women, I'm talking a career. So basically, as the show progresses, she was a teenager and she got knocked up. So she went to her older brother Jamie to have the problem taken care of because she was afraid. Their mother had just passed away, and so they were dealing with the grief of that. So her brother agrees, albeit reluctantly, and they go out to an abortion clinic over on the reservation. And when he goes there, the receptionist tells him that there is a better clinic out in Billings, Montana. But because of their name and their status, if that was to happen, everyone would find out, including their father. Because over there in the show, the Dutton name is essentially some type of royalty, and that could really tarnish their reputation. So she begs the receptionist to have the procedure performed over there in the clinic. But one of the stipulations is that whenever a young girl or a woman goes through an abortion there, she has to be sterilized, which means that they perform a procedure called a hysterectomy to take away their ability to have children. So, which means that if she was to go through with the procedure, she could never have kids again. So he understands this, he goes back to the truck, and he tells her, okay, they'll do it, but he withholds the information about the sterilization. So she goes through with the procedure, unfortunately, and because of that, she can never have any kids. And as a result, she later finds out, and that basically causes a huge animosity between her and Jamie, even though she was the one that made the choice to go through with the procedure. And this really encapsulates what we talk about in Red Pill circles and in the manosphere about modern women, particularly between the ages of about 28 and 45. Women that chose to forsake having a family in order to pursue their careers. Women that never had any kids and as a result fell into a deep depression. Now, I'm not talking about every single woman out there, but a lot of women out there that are relevant. There are women out there that have chose to settle down and start families, but the ones I'm talking about are the ones that work a lot of high-end jobs. You see, if you watch the show, Beth, she is basically a banker. She works alongside and has dealt with a lot of high rollers, oil tycoons, billionaires, politicians, etc. And she puts up a very good front of being very tough and strong. She's not afraid. She's been beaten down more than once. She has really been through hell and back in more ways than one. But that's the front she puts up. If you watch the show and observe her character more closely, she is filled with a lot of emptiness, hatred, and bitterness. especially toward her brother Jamie. And that's exactly how modern women feel towards men. Not all, but a lot of them do. She drinks all the time. Whenever she's at home, she's with a bottle of whiskey. She's always popping pills. Because why? She's going through a great depression because of the fact that she can never have kids. And whenever she sees her nephew, whether it's with her father or her brother, those feelings come back and she relives that moment where she found out, and she deeply regrets having the abortion, but she did it out of fear, and she did it out of desperation because she did not want to shame her father, and also too the family was reeling from the death of their mother. And it's basically a sad tale, and she lashes out constantly. She's very embittered toward her brother Jamie. All of that negativity is directed towards him. And how does that relate to the modern woman? Well, all that negativity they have is directed towards men because they don't take accountability for the choices that they've made. It's always our fault. That's why you hear a lot of that feminist vitriol about killing all men, about how all men are bastards, all men are rapists, all men are pigs, and so on and so forth. You see, it's one thing to hear about it, but I believe that if you actually see it play out before your very eyes, it's like, wow, this is the kind of stuff we've been talking about. And it's really interesting to see it play out, even regardless if it's real life or on a sitcom. This is exactly what we've been saying, and this is really a sad thing that's happened to her. She turn to alcohol, they turn to prescriptions, they turn to drugs to try to cope with it and to try to numb the pain, but it doesn't make the pain go away, it just numbs it. Instead of dealing with their issues, they would just rather sit and fester in their own toxicity because it's much easier to do that, or because they don't want to admit to themselves what they did and they don't want to admit the faults that they have created. They don't want to admit to their mistake, so they are always in a state of depression. And it's really sad to see that happen because I'm sure many of them would have mothers, and I'm sure many of them would have made pretty good wives. Yes, I understand that men are facing a huge issue with the family court. I understand that 100%. But that being said, there are still men out there that want to start families, and there are women out there that still want to start families. But because of the modern conditions of feminism and the deception that both genders have been forced onto, it's really torn a lot of people apart. And it tears her apart because she knows that she was deceived, already been done, and there's nothing that can be said or done to take it away. And even in one of the scenes, she literally lashes out at her brother and even goes so far as to say, "I will take it from you. I hate you for what you've done. It amazes me how someone will even love you. But when that time comes, I will take it from you, even if I have to pry it from my cold, dead hands. I swear to God I will take it from you." Just that very scene encapsulates much of the vitriol and hatred she has towards her brother, and a lot of the vitriol and hatred that a lot of these women have towards men. It's unfortunate, and it's really sad. But anyway, that's basically how Beth Dutton represents the modern American woman.